Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this amazing moment that we spend together here at the SSB, virtually still, yes, but we are streaming live to all our friends on the web now. And this talk will also be recorded, where we'll be sharing with one another in the future as well. Today, our dear friend Dr. Yasco Aracava will be speaking with us about our spiritual and moral progress under the light of the parable of the sower. Before we pass the word to Dr. Aracava and we introduce her, well, before we introduce her and before we pass the word to her, we would like to share a passage of the book Happy Life. And then we will pray together as well to harmonize ourselves before this amazing moment that we're going to be spending together. Here's a chapter of the book Happy Life. Joanna de Angelis says, "Be a friend of truth, never using it as a weapon of destruction or offense. It is not so much what you say, but how you say it that produces good or bad results. Besides, yours may not be the real truth, but only a reflection of it. Even if it were the real truth, you have no right to brandish it for perturbing purposes. Before you assume the role of someone who corrects and teaches with the truth, put yourself in the other person's shoes, and your conscience will guide you in relation to the best way to proceed and express yourself." It is so true in our daily lives that we need this, that we need to process what we understand as truth or not. So, to understand better, to acclimate ourselves with this message, let us pray. And then we will give continuation to this amazing moment. Dear Mother, Father God, give us the opportunity to not only watch, comprehend the words that will be brought to us tonight, but to truly acknowledge it with our hearts. We ask you that you guide us so that the message can be the truth that will harmonize our lives, that will harmonize the life of others. A teaching that has been spoken many, many times, but most importantly, used by our Master Jesus to guide us, the parable of the sower. We are thankful for this amazing opportunity that we have to stop in our daily lives, our commitments, our struggles, and to breathe and to receive a renewing message. Whether we have studied, read it, it's always important to revisit, to understand from someone else's lenses. And why not? With the teachings that Spiritism brings to us to interpret a little different in our lives. May your guidance be with each one of us. May your guidance be with our dear friend, Dr. Yasco Aracava, who will bring us these teachings tonight. May this message touch your hearts this afternoon and this evening, and all of those who will be with us watching in the future. We are thankful for this moment, and so be it. So, as we were saying before, our spiritual and moral progress, the parable of the sower with Yasco Aracava. Many of you have already met Yasco. Many of you know who Yasco is. And as we like to do, is to remind everyone, we are all in a position of doers. Yes, we come together and we give these talks and we prepare ourselves. But these messages, most importantly, is for us, and we try to share it so we can create something better in our lives and move on in a more effective and humane way, right, Yasco? So, with no further ado, we are excited to have you here. We're excited to share this amazing parable, and I'll pass the word to you. Thank you.
Hello, hello everyone. Uh, Good afternoon. I don't know if you see me correctly. Yes, I think Leo is correct. While we are preparing these PowerPoints and gathering information, it's so unbelievable how much we learn and we reflect upon Jesus' reminder. So this is a reminder. You will see uh, that we will say, oh, well, I know. We are supposed to know. Um, but if we check upon us, our act, we will see that we swing between states of goodness, states of wisdom, and sometimes we slip, and that's it. So that's why it's a reminder. So the parable of the sower, it was one of the parables of Jesus that um, Matthew wrote in his gospel. Matthew was the disciple that was closer to Jesus, and the one that knew because he was the tax uh, collector, and he had some good education, I would say, compared to some others that were his followers. So he could take a note, I imagine, immediately, while Jesus was talking. That's why I feel it's interesting, the Gospel of Matthew. While John Mark, actually, he was a teenager, very young at Jesus' time. And he actually got all the notations from Peter. And Luke actually never met Jesus. And Luke, actually, what he wrote from the writings, notations of Paul of Tarsus. And John was very young. Of course, he was also very well, he could at least be well educated because he was 15 years old, 16 years old, and he lived almost 200 years. But Matthew was already an adult person that could make the notation very quickly. So in this parable of the sower is Matthew chapter 13, 1 to 9. And then you will see here 18 to 23 is one of the very, very few parables that Jesus actually explained the first verses. In that language of that time, of course. So let's see how. So the parable, the Matthew starts this way. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. What house was that? Near the lake, the house that he used to live was Peter's house, which they say is very close to the lake. People that went in our days to visit the lake of Gennesaret or the Galilee Sea, doesn't matter the name. It's very close. It's a walking distance. And they were fishermen, all selling the fish. So that same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such a large crowd gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it while all the people stood on the shore. So that was the way he would speak to the people. He would sit, as was the tradition from the Jewish rabbi. They would speak sitting. That was the way. Oops. Then he told them many things in parables. A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seeds, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Well, if we think about our agricultural procedures in our time, you would say what kind of farmer would be to scatter some seed in the pathway? This doesn't make sense. Or you will see later in the rock, the rain, whatever. But that time, they would scatter first all the seeds in that many types of terrain, and they would plow. In our days, we do the opposite. We plow the terrain and then we plant the seed. But that time was not that the way. It was the opposite order. So they would he would scatter in all the place and then plow the cover and remove and cover the seed. And of course, the parable is to teach some lessons too. So of course, he needs also this uh, example of seeds falling in the pathway, people walking, and some would fall in the pathway. Some fell on rocky place where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly, so it spread very quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, burned out, and they withered because they had no root. They were completely damaged, disappeared because there was no root. So remember, no root. Um, Other seed fell among thorn. This thorn grew up and choked the plant. So all the thorn kind of cover all the space, or didn't give any space for the seed to grow. So choke the germination. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 160 or 30 times what was sown. So if one seed would give a plant, some plant bear 100 fruit, the other 30, 60, the other 30. Whoever has ears, let them hear. That's how I'll finish this part of the parable. So when we go to verses 18 to 23, this parable, as I said, is one of the few that Jesus explained the first verses. So he says, listen then to what the parable of the sower means. So the seed along the path, those that fell in the path, in the packed soil. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed sown along the path. So imagine this is more than 2,000 years ago. We wonder what will be the evil, uh, how the birds is parallel. You can make parallel the birds with the evil. What it means that in our days that if you have an empty mind, an idle mind, the devil comes to your workplace. Mente vazia, oficina diabo, like this in Portuguese. So if your mind is empty, is idle, the devil comes and works in that place, in your heart. That is what Jesus is saying. So be careful with the idle mind. So an idle mind is the devil's of workshop. But Emmanuel and Chico Xavier, Emmanuel sent many uh, explanations about Jesus' passage through the four Gospels, through the Act of Apostles, Paul's letters, and universal letter in the Apocalypse. So it's a series of 7 books that the Brazilian Federation, actually, they collected, compiled all these Gospels that Emmanuel tried to analyze and send the message through Chico Xavier. So the Federation got compiled in this different, by the Gospel, by the name of the disciple. Matthew Gospel is 1 volume, the other Mark, Luke, John. So then the Acts, Apostles, etc., etc. So it's a 7 books. It's a series of 7 books that Emmanuel comes to comment on the passages of the Gospel. So I felt it was interesting to bring Emmanuel's analysis, because they, in the spiritual world, they have a study group like ours, in much higher level, much more, with more material that sometimes is missing in the Gospel. They are studying there very thoroughly, in much more higher level, because they also can ask the presence, for instance, of Paul to explain, is that how it was in your time, whatever clarification they want. So they studied, there is a study group. So I felt it was interesting to bring Emmanuel's analysis, comment on this parable of the soul. So what Emmanuel says about the first type of soil, which is the packed soil along the path. So those that the bird ate because nobody cared about that seed. He says, the seeds that fell by the path and the birds ate them symbolize the people who remain outside the spiritual orientation that reach the orientation that reached them during their existence. So they miss, they don't pay attention. They can be in different soils that come to the gospel, hear the lessons, and withdraw. Their hearts do not feel the teachings. It doesn't go inside the heart. It doesn't even get really reflected upon. So their hearts do not feel the teachings, and for convenience, they find it easier to abandon them. Do we have situations that we did that? Even us? They are land not yet prepared for sowing. So our awareness is not there yet for the spiritual teachings and learning. They keep it in themselves, the promise to produce when trials or knowledge mark their existence. Oh, I'm going to postpone. I have other things to do. Yeah, you invite me to go to the Spirit Center, but today I have some commitment, something like that. So it doesn't touch them. It doesn't touch their conscience, their awareness, their heart. The rocky soil. So the parable Jesus said, the seed falling on rocky ground refers to someone who hears the word of Jesus, the divine word, and at once receives it with joy, great enthusiasm. Oh, you think that person will be the disciple. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. So that enthusiasm only short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. Remember that time of Jesus, there was a lot of persecution by the Romans, by the Pharisees, the Judaic authorities. So even the closest disciples, like Peter, in the last moment, they ran away. They feared the persecution. Imagine others or us, you know. Um, but since they have no root, it's not the case of Peter because he was getting already rooted. That's why with a little bit of water, he could go back and finish well his job that he promised to Jesus, to love Jesus 3 times that Jesus asked Peter, do you love me, Peter, Simon? And he said 3 times. The third time he was even almost crying why the master did not believe him. And sure enough, he denied that he knew Jesus at the moment of persecution. So Emmanuel says the following. Here is a rocky soil. You have to mend. You have to treat first. You have to know, you have to work on the soil. So Emmanuel says it indicates the beings with crystallized mental formation of imperfect spirits. That's us. We are the imperfect spirits, in which the stones need to be removed or undone, either by the knowledge of immortal truth or by the moral improvement. We have to remove those stones. We're going to know what he means by stones. But they only can be removed by knowledge of immortal truth or by moral improvement. That means we have a lot to go. Stones can also be seen as conditioning or dominant reflections of the personality that are expressed in the form of passing and superficial interests, and that do not give way to deeper understanding. So we have old condition of getting first the pleasure, the material gains, and the interest that comes right there, and I am interested, and then we get distracted by those. Why we get distracted? Because we are not yet, we are buried by this interest. So the understanding, the deep understanding cannot make deep root. People of rocky terrain, so the terrain, the soil are us, the humanity, okay? Humanity. People of rocky terrain are the enthusiasts of the first moment, who in the face of the smallest obstacle that arise in the exercise of good are unable to remain faithful to the divine teachings, moving away from them. It is not enough for the seed to germinate, but it must grow and bear fruit. So if you give up to treat that little bud that is germinating, that little interested in the spiritual teachings, learning, in a little initiation for more improvement, if we give up by this other distraction, it won't grow to a tree and far from bear fruit. So we ask, for what? If I don't bear fruit, for what is a wasted seed? Seed in thorny soil. Jesus says, the seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word, but the worries of the life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. It can be worries like, oh my God, I have to make money. If I don't do this, what will be tomorrow, my salary? Of course, they are legitimate worries. But if there is no room for us to take care of our spiritual well-being, for our psychological well-being, we're going to let all these circumstances to choke, and we can even get sick. The anxiety builds so high that we will blow. So it seems at the first instance a necessity to think about or to worry about all these things around us, but not to the point, not to have no room for my rest, to reflect, to let it go, exercise, etc. So Emmanuel says, I think I moved my PowerPoint some way far. Is it still okay? Anyway, those in thorny soils grew and were choked. That's Emmanuel saying in 1930s, 40s. Thorns represent addiction, bad inclination, selfishness, intolerance, backbiting, authoritarianism, pride, vanity, personalism, among many other vices, which create obstacles to the process of evangelization of the human creature. So those are the thorns. They choke my willingness, my opportunity to be evangelized. A negative thought or the overvaluation of material things, for example, can grow wildly, drowning out through selfishness or self-indulgence the immortal values that come from the high. I can choke, drown all these lessons, value moral lessons that are given to us by various opportunities. So this flower that you see that seems so beautiful is called uh, the noxious weeds. It seems beautiful, like all the material things that we overvaluate. Is deceiving. These noxious weeds are one of the greatest threats to the environment. They displace native plant species, interfere with the production of agricultural crops, increase erosion, destroy wildlife habitat. Isn't a good parallel to our vices? If we think it is noxious uh, weeds as our vices, destroying completely my incarnation, my life as a mortal being. Many will be, Emmanuel says, many will be buried in the boulder of prejudice, next to others who curl up in the spine of illusion, requiring then enormous time to get rid of it. So the problem is that we are attracted to the same group that think about us. If it's prejudice, we go together. If they like to be in the illusion of this material world, we get attracted. Then gets very difficult for me to get out from that group. That's how addiction, drug addicted, is so difficult to get out and to recompose because of this uh, group that we are inserting. So I put this picture to say, because this religious person, James Paul, say, the worst thing we can do with the splinter or thorn is to deny its existence. Too often we seek bandages to cover the guilt of sin rather than removal of the thorn causing the pain. How much we resist the momentary pain of removing the sliver, even though it will relieve the longer lasting pain of a festering sore. Everyone knows that if thorns, briars, and slivers are not removed from the flesh, they will cause sores that fester and will not heal. So if we have those vices, we have to be honest. We cannot deny, well, I'm just drinking socially. No, there is no such illusion. There's no such a truth in this illusion. We have to accept I have an addiction. I have this splinter or thorn that I have to remove. Otherwise, will keep hurting me. Seed on good soil. Good soil now. Jesus says, but the seed falling on good soils refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. This is the one who produces a crop yielding 160 or 30 times that was sown. You see that there is a gradation, different grade of understanding of production. That means the yielding. That means even among the humanity that already is considering in a situation to absorb the teachings, still there's some that gives away better result than others. This is okay because we are not exactly the same level. Some are still 30%, the other one 60%, the other one that's 100%. And we have the question we have to make, how can I jump from 30 to 60 to give 100? That is the question posed. The other reminder is that Luke says in 6:43 to 45, there is no good tree that bears bad fruit, nor a bad tree that bears good fruit. For each tree is known for its fruit. So there is no way for us to, I would say, deceive first ourselves and then others around us. Look, I'm not that bad. I may, it was just this time. No, good tree will always give good fruits, and the bad tree always a bad tree. There is no way to be in an illusion. So Emmanuel says about good soil. I put this picture because look how robust in production this tree is. This tree makes the date fruit. You know, it was very common in that time of Jesus. Date palms was a palm from that area that's very hot, dry, have been a staple food for the Middle East and the Indus Valley for thousands of years. The date palm was a popular garden plant in Roman gardens. So Pontius Pilatus, all those, he had all these gardens with these dates filled with this fruit. I thought was a good example of how productive can be. So Emmanuel says the teachings of the gospel, when they reach people symbolized by the good land, are assimilated and disseminated in a natural process. So it is not just that I will assimilate the teachings. Now my job as a co-creator is to disseminate to other people that didn't hear before and now has the opportunity to hear the Jesus teachings, like the disciples did. You know, they start to walk in different places. Paul walked all over the place, miles and miles to disseminate. So you first assimilate as a good land, you assimilate the teachings, that's how he read all the gospels or the teachings he talked about, people that had that stayed with Jesus, met Jesus personally, like Mary of Nazareth, in order for he to put it to assimilate Jesus, because Paul only met Jesus as a spirit. But in order to be a good apostle, he had to learn, and now he disseminates as a natural process. So we, as a co-creator, we also, as a natural process of our involvement, is to learn and to disseminate the teachings. The seed in fertile soil is sown in a heart that is more mature and receptive to the gospel, willing to accept new learnings, and most importantly, to renounce old and unhappy acquisition. We have to get rid of old, ancient archetype uh, in order to make space to put the new learnings. Otherwise, we will crash. So, willing to accept new learns and renounce old and unhappy acquisition. Even on fertile soil, each produces according to his evolution, his or her evolution or degree of its spiritual advancement. As we know, some goes faster than the others, but they will go. Some produce more, others produce less. One 100, so out of one seed 100, another 6, another 30. That reveals that the percentage of production may be lower in some, but that he still gives his answer, always positive. So even those that give only little, that you say, well, did he just got only that after I talk all this? No, this is all positive because his soil was only enough to germinate that 10%. Next time, we'll add another 10 or 20% because the soil became more aerated, more fertilized. So you see that in this parable, the sower is Jesus or someone at the level of him, which in our spiritist view is our guide and model. The seeds are the teachings, the good teachings. So the seed is good, even when the bird eats, is good because it's eating, it is not killing the bird. So the seed is good. So the teachings is always, most of the time, good in this situation. And the soils represent the humanity, very different types of humanity in various stage of evolution. So my question, our question is for us, which type of soil are we? The packed one, the rocky one, the thorny one, or the good one? And among the good one, the so-so, a little bit better, or a very good one. So if you go to the Spirit's book, question 100, we are the third order imperfect spirits in this planet Earth. I'm not going to talk even the second because we're far from those good spirits, high evolved spirits, and no way even to think about the first order pure spirit. We're far. So let's put our mind, our focus in our level. Third order, we are imperfect spirits. What are the main traits? Predominant influence of matter over the spirit. We still get so enthusiastic about the matter. Nothing completely wrong with this because in our level, I need to be enthusiastic about my gain, about my production, about my job, in order to, after that, I am a peace of mind to think about my spirit evolution. Many things happen, the good things that happen. First, we were attracted by the material gain, by the pleasure of the matter. And God used these characteristics of human being, this stage, in order to, after that, engage us in more fulfilling mission of solidarity, compassion, etc. You know, it's like a Bill Gates. He gained a lot of money while he was building his company, Microsoft. So now he retired, he has time to share and to apply all this gain to more fulfilling uh, uh, organization to save uh, people with better health, etc. Propensity to evil, wrongdoing. We have this propensity, so let's be careful because we will fall even without consciously speaking. Some degree of ignorance, pride, selfishness, and all the negative passions that result from ignorance, pride, and selfishness. We talk about the beginning of all our evil, our vices are the pride and selfishness. You know, ignorance is lack of knowledge. It's easier to acquire knowledge, but pride and selfishness is a very thick, deep thorn in our character. A little bit more details. Third order, this is the spirit's book. Third order spirits are not all bad, but we are not even 50% good. We are not. We're more bad than good. But this is a swing. I put this balance here because we swing between good and bad, depends on the circumstance. That is, well, so I have some hope that I can be good. Yeah, but I can be bad too. That's what we have to pay attention because I am trying to make balance and I can fall easily, depends on the circumstance. So third order spirits are not all bad. In many of them, there is more of frivolity. We don't take seriously. Well, that can be a very bad catch. Want of reasoning power and love of mischief, then comparison to downright wickedness. However, some of them do neither good or evil, but the very fact that they do no good denotes their inferiority. So the Spirit says it's not enough not to do the bad. We have to do the good in order to be a real spiritist because it denotes our inferiority if I don't do good. It's not enough not just not to do the evil. Others, on the contrary, these are a little bit going to a very bad edge there. Take pleasure in evil and are gratified when they find an opportunity of doing wrong. Among spirits of disorder, a certain amount of intelligence is often allied with malice and the love of mischief. In the spirit world, when they die, when they come to the mediumistic meeting, they say, as they see the happiness enjoyed by good spirits there, this sight causes them perpetual torment, for they experience all the agonies produced by envy and jealousy. Can you believe that when we, discarnate, there is a more a problem there because our envy and jealousy of seeing the other ones that are good, that they did well during the incarnation, being welcome with all the good things, good environment, good parade, good, not parade, but good words, good, and we there, in a dark spot without lights, etc. So we feel envy and jealous about those that are very well welcome. So it is these people that are very hard spirits incarnate now in the planet Earth that insist to stay in evil. They say, I don't want to change. I feel no way. I have no desire to change nothing. They say it may be the last time they incarnate in planet Earth. They may go to the primitive um, because there are some that say I kill, but I don't. Of course, some are sick, but some no, they're not sick. They're not a psychopath, and they still have pleasure in doing that. So this swing between good and bad that we all somehow experience depends on the circumstance. We can be honest to ourselves and say, well, I was not a good person today. I could have been better. I could just shut up my mouth and not hurt that person. If I stay in that situation, we can be carried out by this influence by the obsessor. Those that don't like us or like people like those that commit bad things, they want a group, a gang. They want us to be in their gang. They may be insufflate more of these ideas on being bad. So if you look at him, you're in trouble. While when we are in a good mood, doing good things with all the awareness, that awareness of goodness may be enhanced by our mentors, by good inspiration to do that, to do more good things. So that's the problem of the influence that we receive exactly because we swing between good and bad. We're not stable. Whoever has ears to hear, listen. That's how finish the parable. Whoever has ears to hear, listen, is an alert that informs us that it is necessary not only to listen the guidelines, but to learn to identify opportunities for growth. We have to have our consciousness awaken more and more in order, oops, there is a lesson. That is something that I should apply in my life. There's a place where I could apply and help or whatever, what I learned. So it's opportunity for growth that we have to catch. We cannot just put under the rug and postpone. You have to have ears to hear. Whoever has ears to hear does not waste time in laments, groans, and cries. How many people keep justifying, say, well, I didn't mean to do this, I didn't, etc. But if you did and hurt me, what's the difference? I didn't mean, but I hurt the other. What is the difference? The other person was hurt. He knows the difficulties to produce good fruits, but he does not stop. So keep working hard to the betterment. He works ceaselessly, guided by the high intuition inspired by his spiritual benefactors, without fear, haste, or delay. That's how we have to be very perseverant, because there are so many things around us that will put us down, that will attract us out, far from this our learning. Paul in 2 Corinthians 9:7, each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. So we have to make a decision to be a good person, to help other people, or to, it's some space, sometimes phase we have is a conscious decision, because if we already understood that it's good to be good, let's also create situations that now I can really apply that, not reluctantly, not under compulsion. No, because people. My mother said, "Oh, that is, the society will be better if I do." No, no, no. It has to be from our heart, our decision. God loves a cheerful giver. Not when that God, oh my God, I have to go to Spirit Center, I have to give this left, I have to give the soup, dragged. No, cheerful giver. So how to be a fertile soil? We all want to be a fertile soil. We produce 30, 60, and jump to 100. First, receive the seed. That means hear the good word, the lessons, with humility to listen. If we don't have humility, you won't have ears to listen, to hear. Humility. I don't know, I can learn, I can do it. Water it. That means reflect on it and develop conviction on it. I have to be convinced from myself, from the inside of myself, not from the others, that it is good to be a fertile soil, to give some product that will be helpful to others. Make it germinate. Remove all old moral stones and thorns. I have to remove old archetypes or old tendencies, old habits. Otherwise, it cannot germinate. There is no room. We'll be choked. Develop the good tree. That means inner transformation to distribute, multiply the good word in action. So if I become a good tree and bear good fruit, that means I have already transformed myself. And not only I can add more knowledge, spiritual knowledge that may make me a better spiritual person, but also I now can distribute and multiply what I learned. So others can be also fertile soil and also move on, move up in their evolutionary path. So I have a slide because I noticed that I like to make some comments, uh, questions, but I cannot question myself. So I am teasing you guys to tell something, to comment, or to give some report, some experience of your lives about this four type of soil. So I made some kind of a question. What is making me making me indifferent to spiritual awakening, which is the packed soil? Family background. My family is too much materialistic, they're gonna tease me, etc., etc. They ask me to do so much things, they distract. Material lifetime, yes, can be, you know. What are my main moral stones? The main moral stones in my pathway to spiritual progress that is preventing deeper rooting of divine teachings. What are those stones? The roadblocks. Which personality traits, habits, tendencies, and temptations are choking my spiritual germination and growth? Why can't I bear good fruit? So why I don't make deep root. I am the person give up very easily. I jump from there are people that jump even in Brazil among different spirit centers, because in Brazil there's so many spirit centers. Oh, I don't like these people here. I'll jump to another one, jump to another one. In the end, they give up. They get out because it's not the spirit center, you know. So we have to see why we cannot root deeply in terms of the spiritual evolution, spiritual learning, and what are the temptations that may be preventing me to bear good fruit. Considering my potential to bear fruits, why bear only 30 if I can give 100? You know, why just be content with 30? Or do I know what are the way I should do in order to make my path more fruitful and give 60 or 100? How to make my incarnation more profitable as an immortal spirit? You see, if I have the potential to give 60 and 100, I give only 30. I am somehow wasting my potential in this incarnation. And we may regret because we didn't use well the opportunities, not only the time, the opportunities of this incarnation. The other question I put it, fruits of thought continue thinking, we are co-creators. We all know that we are co-creators, you know. So as a co-creator, I say, can we be a sower at some point? You know, by having Jesus as a guide and model, can I now be a sower by disseminating his teachings, what I learned, his teachings, uh, the moral values? What kind of sower are we? I can be a bad sower. I can be sowing negative thoughts, negative acts, negative tendencies, negative, anxiety among other people. Look, be worried about this, be worried about that, and the person is not even worried, but we put some bad seeds there, and the person started to believe. Teachings, what kind of seed are we sowing? Negative, positive, very good. And to what kind of soil? Am I a good teacher to children as a parent? What I'm giving to my children from our own blood or as a teacher or co-workers? Am I succeeding in this task? Or I'm failing? I am promoting much more discord than harmony. We have to think about, because Jesus was the perfect, but we are not. So be careful when we decide to be a sower. We have to be a sower somehow for good things, because we cannot waste just sharpen my knife and never use that knife and disappear the knife. No. If I have good material, I have to distribute. Because then they're gonna say, for what? You accumulate so much knowledge. If only you and 2 or 3 people have the advantage of that. But be careful with the negative ones. If we are really impacting good in a good way, or we are destroying the person hope sometimes by putting too much in the wrong time. So thank you very much. So I put those 2 comments or fruitful thoughts that I hope you can share with us. Thank you so much.
Yasco, thank you so much for this amazing presentation. It's always good to have these reminders in our life, right? The teachings of our Master Jesus. And it's interesting how you also brought some of the aspects of Jesus' times, what was happening, how we can relate to the moment so we can better understand what he was trying to say, as well as bringing the struggles of our lives as the struggles of the harvest that we have to um, um, understand or take in consideration, right? The seeding process, the treatment process, and then finally the harvesting. When I say the harvest, it would become trying to encompass the whole thing, but it was really well put together and how we can actually utilize this in our lives. So I thank you for that. I am quite sure many of us have taking this as an alert, as well as to heart in a good way, so we can go ahead and grow together with these teachings. And never forget, right, that this is something that is we can always go back and revisit. If we read again this passage of the Bible over and over, over months, I mean, we will also always get something else and apply it differently in our lives. So thank you so much. We do have some amazing comments and questions here. Mainly at the beginning, we have our dear friend Alba saying hello, happy to be here with all of you. Our friend Ida Sama saying good evening and blessed talk for everyone here. Regina, may the seeds of this talk find fertile soil in our lives. And then Kirsten giving our welcome here. Good evening, everyone. Samia, we have also Antonia. And we move on to an amazing question that Kirsten elaborated as you were speaking. And she says, since Spiritism is a philosophy, I wonder, what does the experience of the sower, i.e., when he throws the seeds and some don't end up growing? Is this also an alert to us that although we may try, sometimes our efforts fail? Now, she also has a continuation of the question here. I'll say it now, and you can elaborate on the answer. Isn't this very experience of the sower the very experience we have as humans, at least to some degree? So I'll let you answer this amazing question.
Completely, Kirsten, is our experience as humans, especially in this planet of trial and expiation. And I think we are the most fertile in terms of percentage of humanity, fertile soil that these teachings of Jesus, Kardec, Spiritism can grow and germinate, because we are not that packed, at least most of us are not that packed road that are completely indifferent. There are some, but there's a percentage of people, it's very, so we are more in the position, sometimes we are, I could say we are in that situation of a rocky soil, or the thorn soil, because there are moments in our growth. I don't know why I was a teenager or why I was trying to make up for my job, that the material pleasure, material needs, or the material excitement made a big difference. And I would say there is no person that can say, well, I could have done a little different. I was a little harsh. I could have been a little bit more generous. I could be. I know that if I go back when I was starting my job as a, in Brazil, well, we there is a competition there. There's a competition. So in the competition, if the things happen so quickly, there is no time to think, oh, well, I should be more compassionate in this situation, let the competitor get that classroom that I want that classroom to put my students there. It happened like this, because there was a time that for some problem, two group of students were assigned for the same room. And of course, I made sure my students got the thing. But today I would say, well, I could have done a little bit different or something. So as a philosophy, it is Kardec's teachings is right here in order for us to apply the knowledge that we have acquired, apply this knowledge that we acquired. So we are an intelligent being, we acquire a lot, but now in order put it for us to move morally up. But that needs, as I say, some maturity. And maturity comes, as I said, the phase of our life. After my job is stable, my career is stable, my family, I may have a little bit more room to say, well, I should apply, I should let my soil be a little bit more fertile in terms of disseminating the goodness or something. But that's why I'm saying we are in these imperfect beings that we swing between the bad and good all the time. Hopefully, we stay more time and we resist more time to the bad, and we stay more time in the goodness, in the good traits. That's what I hope, because as a spiritist, not only I will feel, the consequence of being bad instead of being good, we can summate more up on this, the spiritual influence. We know that. So, for our knowledge, is very bad not to pay attention that we are like this. We swing. This is fact, so we have to be aware. We have to be really paying attention. Know thyself. This is very important. It's important. I have to know myself to say where I can make a mistake. I could have been less rude. Why can't I be less rude if I now, that's completely true.
Thank you. Thank you, Yasco. Before I move on to the next question, Paula made a comment here right before Kirsten. I do apologize that I did not read that before. I just noticed parable illustrates the powerful support of a good peer group like SSB, which teaches universal truth and helps us weed out ourselves. Very true. Very true. To have this support is very powerful, and we should lean on one another to come together as a better human being and thus a better society as well, right? Understanding, as you said, right, Yasco, to if I can go back and try to fix what has been wrong, why can't that be also in the future? So to always project this in the future as well. So Very well
Yeah,
said.
I think the weed we have to know is there. This noxious weed is there. If I don't pay attention this, it will cover up and damage all my crop. Those are the vices.
Mhm.
And, we will be the vices, this awareness. I think the team of SSB or any other team, religious team, is good to alert us for the goodness that we can make. Because if I'm not there and I am in another group, because I'm not in the SSB group, I am in the opposite type of group, I'm attracted to that group. Imagine how much more weeds is there, that will cover up my
Sure.
possibility, my chances. I will be completely choked. So that's why the good groups are good to shield ourselves, to shield us from bad things, because we are not that sturdy, we are not that stable, guys. We can swing, we can fall. That is the danger. Once we go to the second order of pure spirit, there is no harm, there is no danger anymore. That we won't be affected, you know. But now is danger.
Great, great explanation. It is true. I also would like to ask a question as I posed here earlier for us to start thinking about it. And the question goes as since we are talking about seeding and harvesting, what should we do with the bad seeding, bad soil, or even the bad harvest that we or others create?
Well, we we have to know ourselves for sure. If we know ourselves, we know what is bad, what is good, what kind of soil I am in, what kind of group, gang I am in,
Mhm.
like the group. So I have to know myself, and I have to know my purpose. I have to know who will be affected by my sowing and harvesting. If I have a family, reputation, whatever, this is all the consequence of that harvest, sowing and harvest. So I have to know myself what I want, what is my desire. If I don't care, if I'm in the group that I don't care, of course it won't suffer even. And the others create. That is, again, by knowing myself, I have to realize and pick up what is going on around me. What kind of people are we getting together? Oh, it's family. I cannot. Well, even family, if you figure out that element, sorry, that person in your family is the one that will create the stir and put the mud up and will choke everyone, all the fishes in the tank. Well, you have to separate somehow that element because you care about the others. Oh, of course, I have to be very compassionate to the other one. But there is a point that the safety of others and the goal of my incarnation, the goal of the other people that have the chance, the potential to grow in this incarnation has to count. I cannot always forgive, always justify the bad, influence of that person that wants to ruin my crop, which would be used and would be feeding many people, the reputation of my family. So I think, I'm not, I don't have much of problems to say what I think, but there are people that have difficulties to say, look, I cannot stay with you. I cannot join your group anymore. I don't have any problem for that. But there are people that have problems to say Has some, they feel sorry about that. But how about the other 10?
Right.
If you keep covering up a person that has addiction, that is violent at home, a father that beats, how many situations you have like that? A father beating a mother and the kids, and goes to the police office, and they cover up, and how long you're gonna do? What kind of mother is that you don't see the damage you're making to your children? Psychological, if it's not physical, it has to be psychological thing. So one time you have to stood up and say, if it's nothing, it's my children first because I am responsible. Even to put the person in the correct place. So I think we have to be strong in relation to our purpose, goals in our incarnation. You cannot keep forgiving, justifying if the person keep repeating and being a bad person, bad weed in my crop,
Right.
right?
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
think so.
Very well said. Again, and Poliana also says, hello, my dear Yasco. And our Iracema Benison says, thank you so much, Yasco, for this wonderful topic. Regina again says, great talk. Thanks. What was said about our sharing the role of sowers also reminds us of the parable of the talents, right? Very well said too, because these parables, they are continuation, right? They should be applied together in our lives. So yes, it does have a correlation there. And
Yeah, Jesus make many different parables for the same purpose. Like to explain the kingdom of God, he have two, three, four parables. So they all, he wants to teach, how to be in the correct pathway,
Mhm.
how to fulfill your goals as a spiritual being. Don't think you're just going to keep doing the same thing and want the different result. You want a different result, you have to start to do different things. So I think there's always, and Jesus never was, oh, let's forgive this, oh, let's not to pay attention. No, yes, yes, no, no. That's what he said. We have to be clear to what we think is correct and what we think is not correct,
Right.
and what is not worth putting our effort. Like he said, well, the Samaritan doesn't want us, doesn't receive us in Samaria. Oh, let's go. No, let's not even waste. Let's get our shoes and tap in order for the dust to fall, and let's move on. So I think we have to, but that we have to be clear about our purpose in life. Our purpose in life is much more transcendental than we think. You know.
Thank you, Yasko. Paula also said, from reading definitions of spirit orders, it seems we are a mixture, excuse me, of third and at least beginning second order, which at its level lowest class, excuse me, the dominant quality is kindness, great instruction.
That's true. There is even among the third, you're gonna see that it depends on the time. I can fit in different classes. There are times that I'm not good, so I will go to that class. And for certainty, the second class we are already moving. So there's not always the whole time that we can say, "Oh, I belong to the second class." No, once in a while, I am. I feel I did a good act. I am in a situation that, wow, I even was surprised with myself. I said, well, I can be even the second class. But the thing is that we're not stable in that level of second class in order to move up. We kind of go backward and then go like, go two, three steps down, two steps up, something like that. That's why for sure we are, and for sure many of people that are on the planet Earth, especially those in mission, or they belong to the second class, but those are fewer. The majority of people that are here for trials and expiation, they belong for the third uh, class. No, don't say Chico, don't say Dival, don't say Mother Teresa. You know, yeah. But good, Paula. We are envision already. That we are moving up.
I think that's a great point that you just said, Yasco, because at least our harvesting, our let's see, the work that we're putting together for our harvesting has been examined more often than not. Now we prepare ourselves more before we make a decision, right? We tend to think, sometimes even overthink certain things before we act. So that is already telling us that we are. Um, Again, oscillating still, yes, but not with great transitions in terms of going back and doing something, not so well. We're already thinking, we're preparing ourselves. So it's this fluctuation in terms of the orders in within an order. It's normal, number one, but we're doing more to ascend faster. I hope, at least the way this is maybe a little bit positive thinking, right? To think of this way. But I think we are, as a society, we're taking a little bit more precautions before we act. So it is so true. And with these reminders, when with reminders like this, we see that we are preparing for better harvesting as well. I think conversations like this, groups like these, and also the beauty of having these reminders now more than ever, doing things online, that we can always, when we were going through a tough moment, we listen to these callings and say, what, yeah, perhaps I need to think about that. So I want to give you an ability to say your final words if you have to say anything before we end. The last comment we had was from Antonio saying, great talk, Yasco. And yes, indeed, it was a great talk. And I'll give you a moment or two to say your final words before
Yeah,
we end.
I think what I like is that Emmanuel, because he's a more modern language than 2,000 years ago, he puts clearly to us, look, this is what is going to happen. So be careful, pay attention. And I think we are in a good, interesting phase in the planet Earth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So so only the trials. Sometimes I feel if I'm putting a trial, more difficult trial, probably I will swing more to the bad side. That's still my fear because I'm not so stable. So while I am here in a stable job, in a good environment with AC working, it's so I'm not going to complain, but I have to give much more because now I have the peace of mind to do some jump up, while the other ones, in a terrible situation, live in the favela in a very close bad environment, fearing all the bullets or whatever, all these things. Of course, when they can get this peace of mind to think about spiritual. So hopefully we can make a room to help them, somehow, prayers, and also, to see if we can help to decrease these problems of this circumstance of COVID-19, right?
Thank you so much, and we are glad to have you here. Open up the month of August. We didn't say this at the beginning, but it's already the month of August, right? We went through many months through. We have been through many months with this pandemic. We are learning a lot from it. We're making strides to become better individuals. We've been here together online for quite a couple months now. Hopefully, things will take a different turn and we'll be able to gather ourselves physically more often soon. But until then, we're going to be working together to disseminate, to alleviate minds and hearts. And as Yasco said, Paula said earlier, excuse me, to become a support for someone, become a support for a group of people. And especially with messages like this, revisiting Jesus' messages, it's just an amazing opportunity for all of us. I would like to just remind everyone, thank you, Yasco, and you're welcome. I would like to remind our brothers and sisters following us on the web that we have our new schedule of the month of August together. And after our prayer, I will go ahead and share with all of you this amazing month. Why not before the prayer? So we can share this right now, and then we pray, and then we part on a positive note there. Obviously, this is already a positive note. So for the month of August, dear friend, we will have Kirsten giving continuation to the study of the book Jesus in Our Lives. Not a study, revision chapters that she's doing. August 8th, she will talk about Jesus and insecurity. And on August 15th, we will have our a guest speaker, our friend Peter Hayes, talking about family, the school for redemption. And on August 22nd, we will have Discover Your Language of Love with Alba Morales. And on August 29th, our continuation to the work on planetary transition, where I will be discussing chapters 15 and 16. And it's a full month, amazing 5 weekends, right? Counting today, that we will be together disseminating the work of love and kindness. I would like to call your attention to please join us in the effort to bring our guest speaker as well, Peter Hayes. It's not to discount the work that we do at SSB, the participants of the SSB, the workers directly of the house, but it's definitely a nice moment when we bring someone from outside, from other locations, to speak with us, to talk with us and disseminate the work as well, and to give emphasis that we care for one another, and we open up the space for others to join as well in this effort to illuminate minds and enlighten lives together. With no further ado, I would like to say the final prayer, giving us the chance to connect once more with our dear Creator. And you may close your eyes so we can give thanks for this amazing moment that we had here, bringing Jesus and his messages even closer to us, showering our homes, our hearts with the joy of being persistent, courageous enough to weed out the difficulties inside of us and only keep what is in concordance with the natural laws, what will bring us joy, happiness, and most importantly, the growth in our evolutionary path. May this feeling, may this joy be with us as we continue in our weekend, in the week that is about to start, and every interaction that we will have with ourselves, whether a family member, a friend, someone on the streets. Let this joy permeate our interactions. When we meet someone and we're about to say hello, remember these teachings, so we can not only be the fertile soil, but the sower of something good in the many soils that comes towards us. Let us be the seed that will harvest many fruits. With your blessings, we bid everyone farewell, and until next time. and so be it.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.